All right, today we are diving into a 2026 research report that seriously reads like science fiction, but it's all rooted in very real, cutting-edge science. We're going to be talking about how to detect and how to neutralize advanced smart dust.
So let's just start with the central question that drives this entire thing. How in the world do you fight an enemy you can't even see? And this isn't some philosophical riddle, right? It's a really high-stakes technical problem.
Now, this enemy we're talking about is called neural dust. Just try to picture this. Microscopic wireless sensors, way smaller than a grain of sand, that can be powered up and communicated with using nothing but ultrasound. That's the core technology we're dealing with here.
And that's where things get really interesting. A new report from a group called AegisNet Research has just laid out the first ever public blueprint for actually finding and then safely disabling this tech. So let's walk through what they found. Okay, so before we get into how you take this stuff down, it's pretty important to understand exactly what we're up against. So let's take a quick look at where this technology even came from in the first place.
You know, this stuff didn't just appear overnight. The whole idea was first proven out at UC Berkeley way back in 2016. After that, DARPA's N3 program basically put it on the fast track, which brings us right up to the 2026 AegisNet report that we're digging into today.
So what can it actually do? Well, the list is pretty wild. These little motes can sense your body's vital signs. They can monitor the environment around you, and here's the big one. They can actually read neural activity. We're talking about the foundation for brain-machine interfaces that don't even require surgery.
Okay, so that brings us to the first huge challenge the researchers had to crack. How do you find a microscopic device that might be completely dormant inside a living person? I mean, it is literally the ultimate needle in a haystack problem.
So at first they tried the obvious approach, passive detection, basically just listening for a signal. But nothing. If a mote went dormant, it was completely invisible. The breakthrough, the real game changer, was what they call active interrogation. They send out a low-energy ultrasonic ping that basically forces the motes to send a signal back, giving away their exact location.
But, finding that little echo amidst all the other noise in the human body is incredibly hard. And that's where the AI comes in. Using these advanced classifiers, the system was able to tell the difference between a mote and just background noise with an absolutely stunning 99.3% precision.
So, great, we found them. Check. Now for the really tricky part. How do you take them out without causing any harm? This is where we get into the physics of disruption.
The researchers tried out three main ideas. Ultrasound could literally shatter the mote. Magnetic fields could heat its core up until it just failed. But the most effective solution by far was a hybrid approach, a perfect 1-2 punch. First, a magnetic field locks the mote in place, and then a super precise ultrasonic pulse comes in and delivers the final blow. It turned out to be 2 to 5 times more efficient than doing either one alone.
Now, hang on, because this is where the science gets absolutely nuts. This disruption process creates these microscopic hotspots that reach at least 5,000 Kelvin. To give you some perspective, that's nearly the temperature of the surface of the sun. So what on earth is going on at that temperature?
But hey, before your mind starts going to microfusion, the report is very clear. It's not fusion. At these insane temperatures, water molecules are literally ripped apart, creating these super reactive agents called radicals. And those radicals are what chemically destroy the mote. So, the key here is radical chemistry, not some kind of physics-defying magic.
So you've got this incredibly powerful tool, but you're using it inside a biological system, right? This brings us to what might be the most delicate part of the whole operation, balancing that raw power with safety. You have to have very strict rules of engagement. And here is the core trade-off. It's simple. You need enough power to actually get the job done and destroy the mote. But at the same time, you have to stay below the established FDA safety limits to make absolutely sure you don't harm any of the surrounding tissue. It's a very fine line to walk.
So how did they solve it? Well, the solution was actually pretty elegant. They used pulsed power. Instead of just one continuous blast of energy, which would create way too much heat, they delivered it in these tiny, short bursts. This duty cycle approach let them hit the peak power they needed for disruption, while keeping the average power and the tissue heating incredibly low.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. This research didn't just solve one problem. It tackled a whole series of absolutely monumental scientific hurdles to get from a wild theory to a proven working solution. So here are the big breakthroughs. 1. They solved the problem of invisible dormant motes with that active ping and AI. 2. They solved incomplete takedowns with that hybrid attack. They even figured out how to use ultrasonic forces to gently nudge motes apart so they couldn't shield each other. And, this is critical, they built brand new simulation models using AI to make them run 1,000 times faster, which is what made the whole thing practical in the real world.
So what's the ultimate lesson here? The big takeaway from the AegisNet report is this. When you're dealing with technology this delicate, brute force is just not the answer. The real path forward is through precision, through using multiple methods that all work together, and always starting with the least invasive options first.
And that leaves us with one final and really important question. This report proves that the technology itself can be secured, but it opens up a much bigger conversation. As we continue to merge with our technology, who is responsible for securing our fundamental neurorights? And that's a question that science just can't answer on its own.